Imaikaa nodigal is a serial killer movie, or that's what it's pretend to be. When I watched this movie, the dialogue from The Prestige is what came to my mind. So, we will first look into the dialogue and then break down Imaikaa nodigal based on that dialogue. Sounds interesting? Keep watching. Every great magic trick consists of 3 parts or acts. The first part is called the pledge. The magician shows you something ordinary. A deck of cards, a bird or a man. He shows you this object. Perhaps he asks you to inspect it to see if it is indeed real, unaltered, normal. But of course it probably isn't. The second act is called the turn. The magician takes the ordinary something and makes it do something extraordinary. Now you're looking for the secret, but you won't find it, because of course you're not really looking. You don't really want to know. You want to be fooled. But you wouldn't clap yet. Because making something disappear isn't enough, you have to bring it back. That's why every magic trick has a third act, the hardest part, the part we call the prestige. That's a great dialogue, isn't it? Now we proceed to break down Imaikaa nodigal into these 3 parts. First, the pledge, then second, the turn, and then finally, the prestige. Welcome to AMRC. We discuss interesting movies and TV series from all around the world. Please like, share, and subscribe to AMRC. Starting from Hollywood blockbusters like Zodiac, Silence of the Lambs, and Seven, to another great Tamil movie suspense thriller, Rakshasan, which is also based on a serial killer. Movies have a pattern. More than one person with some sort of connection dies under mysterious circumstances. The protagonist, a cop or a detective, is assigned to solve the case. Killing spree continues. Police identifies the motives of the killer, which leads to the final showdown, where the antagonist is captured or killed. However, Imaikaa nodigal has a different pattern. The first part, the pledge. As the premise of the show begins, we are introduced to a mysterious character who kills a security and kidnaps a young girl from a party. He does it by deactivating the CCTV cameras using a jammer. In the next scene, we see a man, the kidnapped girl's father, holding a bag with ransom money to hand it over to the kidnapper and to rescue his daughter from him. Then we are introduced to the lead character, Anjali. Vikramadityan, the protagonist of the movie, a CBI officer, follows the kidnapped girl's father. Her team tries to track the call, but that fails as the kidnapper keeps using a different IP address every second. The kidnapper manages to get the money from the victim's father by tricking him, and also to escape from the cops. Later, the team discovers a bag with mutilated body parts of the kidnapped girl. This explains the character detailing a ruthless serial killer who kidnaps people for ransom money and to kill them anyway after taking the ransom from the victim's parents. On the other hand, a CBI officer who is trying to nab the killer. This is the initial setup we are introduced to, a typical cat-and-mouse game. This particular scene reminded me about the introduction scene of Joker in The Dark Knight. The focus of the movie then shifts to the personal life of the protagonist. Anjali lives with her daughter in the city of Bangalore, the same city the serial killer is terrorizing the public. The serial killer then proceeds to release an audio recording to the media, claiming himself to be Rudra, a serial killer who started his killing spree 5 years back. The case was handled by Anjali, which she closed successfully by killing the suspect. The audio recording claims that he is the real Rudra, and the suspect killed 5 years ago was a mere scapegoat framed by CBI Anjali to close the case. At this point, the audience is left with 2 questions. Is he the real Rudra, who terrorized the city 5 years back? Did the CBI fabricate the evidences back then to close the case? Or is he a mere copycat? To understand this better, let's have a look at the case which happened 5 years back. 3 young men was murdered by cutting their veins, causing excessive blood loss. Anjali closed the case by capturing the suspect dead, the close friend of 3 victims who also happens to be a doctor. But now this case is again resurfaced, as the killings had again started in the same pattern. Could this be done by the real killer Rudra, or is he just a copycat? Or did Anjali fabricate the evidences to close her first case back then? We will figure out soon. At this point of time, Anjali manages to win the confidence of her team that she haven't fabricated any evidences in the past regarding Rudra's case, and this present killings are executed by a copycat. We are then introduced to 2 other characters, Anjali's brother Arjun and his girlfriend Kritika Rao, who are undergoing a breakup phase. Anjali. As she begins with the investigation of the new Rudra case, she receives a video recording from cops who previously investigated the case. She gets her first glimpse at the killer. Meanwhile, the killer manages to kidnap his next victim, this time the son of a minister, to increase the tension further. Minister receives an anonymous call demanding 2 crore rupees as ransom, else his son, who is strangled with a ticking bomb in the car trunk, will explode into pieces, and this time the killer wants Anjali to bring the money to him. Anjali plants a GPS device on the bag with ransom money. Killer manages to isolate Anjali in a metro station, shuts down the power, jams the CCTV cameras, and then appears before Anjali. After a physical tussle, the killer again manages to get away with the ransom money for the second time and kills Minister's son and puts him in the trunk of Anjali's own car. This is the end of part 1. The screenplay leads us in the direction that still it's a cat and mouse game between the CBI and serial killer with just one question: is he the real Rudra, or is he a mere copycat, repeating the events in the same pattern? Part 2. The turn of events in the story begins with the convincing that this new killer is almost likely to be a copycat because his course of action implies that he has some sort of personal vendetta against Anjali, and that's why he constantly tries to defame her with his actions. Anjali's brother comes to Bangalore to convince his girlfriend, between whom the things had soared in the recent past. Meanwhile, Rudra releases his next audio recording that he is going to execute his next kidnapping in the next 1 hour. Audiences are puzzled with new questions like: how is able to jam the cameras? What is his personal feud with Anjali? Who is going to be his next victim? And most importantly, why is he taking the identity of Rudra? As Anjali alerts her team and proceeds with intensifying the search for the serial killer, Rudra kidnaps his third victim, but this time it's not a random person, it's Arjun's girlfriend Kritika. As she has been held captive in a filling water tank, clock is ticking for everyone to finish the game. Meanwhile, Anjali gets her team to the spot to make sure that the killer doesn't get away with the ransom money again, as they are sure, if he does, he will kill this victim too. Ransom money is asked to be placed in a phone booth and is been taken away by a mysterious man. Anjali suspects him to be the serial killer and shoots him, after other team members are able to save Kritika by finding her location by systematically shutting down water supplies zone-wise, but to everybody's surprise, the mysterious man carrying the ransom money, shot by Anjali, is none other than Arjun, Kritika's boyfriend, Anjali's brother. Arjun has been threatened to do this, failing which will lead to Kritika's death. At this point of time, audience are convinced that this is an act of vengeance based on some past personal feud between the killer and Anjali, and he isn't the real Rudra. Arjun is suspected to be the serial killer, is hospitalized, manages to escape from the cops, and visit the spot where the kidnapping had happened, identifies the killer with one of the cameras facing his rear side. Arjun gets hold of the man talking to the killer in the footage, and through him, finds the location of the killer. Once he visits the killer's residence, he discovers that the killer is an ex-policeman, Martin, who recently lost his wife. So, this brings us to the third part, the prestige, the hardest part. Why is an ex-policeman taking the identity of a past serial killer? What is his personal feud with Anjali? What is his connection to the actual Rudra case which happened 5 years back? Part 3. The prestige. To understand the story better, I have devised an easy explanation in chronological order of the events. The origin of this complicated story begins like this. Anjali Vikramadityan marries her college sweetheart Vikram when things are going fine. During the time when Anjali is pregnant with a baby girl, her love, Vikram, is assaulted in a car crash as she begs helplessly to save her husband to the gang of 4 young men who are drunk and cause the accident. To take him to the hospital, the assailants decide to kill Vikram and Anjali to get away with the incident. They hit Vikram and Anjali with an iron rod in order to kill them. Vikram dies, Anjali survives, decides to take revenge. But she understands she can't do it through the system, as the assailants are influential and had already erased the CCTV footages. Anjali acts as if she had lost her memory and is incapable of finding the assailants in order to make them believe that she is harmless. Once things settle down, she carefully plans a revenge. She creates a serial killer, named him Rudra, and kidnaps 3 of the assailants and kills them. She decides to kill the 4th assaulter by claiming him to be the killer, Rudra, in a police encounter. She plants the evidences in the 4th assaulter's house leading to confirmation that he is the killer who kidnaps and kills people for ransom money. She successfully executes the plan and gets away with it, except for one factor, Martin. Martin is the police officer who investigates the case before it's passed on to CBI, after spending months to solve the case, and when Anjali solves it when it's handed over to CBI, Martin falls into depression. His aggressive nature intensifies. He witnesses Anjali killing the fourth suspect and believes that she is doing it for a professional gain, as he doesn't know the backstory. As Martin loses his respect with his fellow cops, as he wasn't able to solve the case, as his depression, anger intensifies on Anjali, he decides to have a revenge of his own. He brings back the serial killer Rudra back to life, starts kidnapping and killing victims in the same fashion. Case again goes to Anjali. Martin successfully fools the cops that Arjun is the killer by making sure all evidences point towards him, and he also makes progress towards killing Karthika, who is the only witness that Martin is the killer. After a lot of twists and turns, when the siblings, Anjali and Arjun, identifies Martin as the copycat serial killer, who is doing this because of the personal vendetta he has against Anjali, as he believes that she killed 4 innocent youths for her professional gain, which also led to his disgrace as a cop, unable to solve a case, which puts him to depression and anger, which further leads him to kill his wife and seek revenge on Anjali. Movie reaches the ultimate showdown as cops shoots Martin, as Anjali has again planted evidences in his house, leading to confirmation that he is the copycat Rudra, and he is doing it to bring disgrace to Anjali. Movie ends with a dialogue said by Anjali to Martin that if he would have ever known the reason why she took the mask of Rudra to kill those 4 men, he would have never touched it, because the ultimate driving factor for Martin to recreate the killer is to seek revenge on Anjali, as he thinks she fooled him and the police department for her professional gain, whereas the backstory is she did it because for her personal revenge, as these 4 men killed her loved one and managed to get away with it. And that's the real reason why she created Rudra and killed them. To get away, to seek revenge, to get justice for her loss. And she did it anonymously, also for the sake of her daughter. Meanwhile, Arjun and Karthika patch up and decides to build a stronger relationship. So, that's it guys, let me know what you think about the relevance I felt between the dialogue from Prestige and the screenplay of Imaikaa nodigal. Thus, Ajay Nanamuthu, the director of Imaikaa nodigal, successfully executes his third act, The Prestige. Ajay is a great magician, hence proved. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to AMRC, and to check out our new playlist, Audiobook, where we share copyright-free music for content creators. See you guys in the next video.